To become a professional footballer, you're required to be really good. We all know that. The thing is, a lot of players are actually closer than they think of reaching that professional contract. But there are often small details or things that are standing between them and that first pro contract. And sometimes it can be hard to identify what those things are. Are you not training the right way? Are you training too little? Are you training too much? What should you eat? How much should you eat? It's almost like with every new answer comes two new questions, and you never really know if you're doing the right things or not. Today I will help you identify what those things are for you by sharing 7 different points that could be the ones standing between you and that pro contract that you're working so hard for. Let's begin. Number 1, you lack momentum. You have probably seen players at the very highest level who never seem to play a bad game, and everything they do seems to turn to gold. While you may have one good game and then the next game you're not nearly the same player as you were the weekend before. Do these players just have a God-given talent to remain consistent, or is there more to it? This is also something that I have struggled with a lot over the past few months, which have slowed down my growth, and that has been gaining that consistency and that momentum. I believe this is an incredibly underrated and overlooked area in one's overall development. And the ones who really learn to firstly create that momentum and then to also take advantage of it will also be the one who manages to skyrocket their results. But what is momentum more exactly? I will not go too deep into it today, I'll save that for a future video, but in short, it could be described as a continuous progression of one's career success and development. In other words, things go really well for you for a really long time. A lot of this could be attributed to luck. But I, for one, do not believe in luck. I believe that we create our own luck, and because of that, we can also create our own momentum. But how do we do that? There are things that are always out of our control, things that we cannot affect, but there are also an incredible amount of things that we can affect, that we are in control of. The consistency and the momentum comes from discipline. The discipline of taking care of our body and mind by proper training, diet, and sleep. And then the discipline to keep doing that more often than not. And the ones who are able to do that most consistently are also the ones who will gain the most positive momentum. Momentum isn't a guarantee that things will work, because there are never any guarantees. But the more often you can implement these positive actions and daily habits into your life, the greater the momentum you will be able to create, and eventually that momentum will take you to heights that you couldn't even imagine. Number 2. Comfort. At the end of 2023, I started a new and transformative journey of my own in a project called Project Reborn, which all 19 episodes have been released on the channel if you haven't watched them. However, what I've felt after the initial excitement of starting something new and fresh, those initial feelings of motivation have slowly started to change, and I've found myself more and more in a place of comfort. And everyone that has ever tried to pursue something knows that comfort is what kills your dreams. I'm not talking about rest, because that is a vital part of your life as a footballer, but more about an overall complacency and a feeling of this is enough. I believe it can be easy to fall back into old habits and a place of comfort, and that is not something that will take you forward and once again create that momentum that you now know that you can create. It's not nice to feel uncomfortable, and that is why after some time we always slowly gravitate back towards comfort. This is absolutely normal and expected to happen, but the quicker you're able to recognize this, the quicker you can bounce back to do the things that you need to do the uncomfortable things again, the things that you know will take you in the right direction. Number 3, scoreboard watching. This next area is something that I've struggled with a lot during my career, and especially when I was younger, and that is called scoreboard watching. Simply explained, this is when you enter a state of mind where your focus shifts from action to inaction. And this can happen very easily if you're not aware of it. Imagine you're out on the field playing a game. The scoreboard shows 1-0 to the opposition. You know that the only way to turn the game around is to play the game. To run, to attack, and to fight to get that goal. However, sometimes something seems to happen once you step off the field. This mindset changes, and instead of playing the game, you start to watch the scoreboard. In other words, instead of taking the action and doing the work that you need to be doing, you start to focus and obsess over what you should do. It's always very good to be mindful of how to train in the best way and to try to optimize that in the best way that you can. But you should never let that take away from the actual work, which is 100 times more important. So as soon as that happens, as soon as you start watching the scoreboard, remember that that is not how you turn the game around. Number 4, juggle too many balls. A lot of times players ask me on how to achieve a better balance in their career, to help them balance their football with school, work, relationships, or whatever it may be. And balance is important over the long term in your life and career. However, what I've come to terms with more recently is where we place our efforts, that is where we'll make the most progress. If we're trying to do too many different things at once, we're running the risk of barely improving in any of them. Personally, I'm pretty bad at balancing things, and I often tend to take on too many things at once. But as I said, I've started to understand balance a bit better recently, and that is why, for example, now over the summer, I have not uploaded a single YouTube video, because I had my mind set on some other projects. Previously, I probably would have tried to do everything at once, but now instead I decided to have a more narrow focus, to allow me to do a better and more comprehensive job than I otherwise would have been able to. So ask yourself, what are the areas that I want to place my focus and effort in? As you're watching this video, football will obviously be one, if not the most important area for you. That is where we want to place the majority of our focus. I say majority because we also want that healthy balance that will allow us to sustain our efforts over the long term. It can be seeing that friend that you haven't seen in a while, or catching up on that homework that you have from school to make sure that you're on the right path. The moment it feels like you're not able to do all the things you want, and that your priority, which in this case is football, starts to take a hit, then you can start to scale down on a few things for a shorter period of time and see how that affects your football and your overall life. It's a very hard thing to nail and something that I still struggle with quite often, but as you experiment with it over time, you will get better at it, as with everything else. Number 5, you never stop running. This is a tricky one because it means that you are taking the action, which we mentioned back in point 3 is the most important thing to keep making progress. However, when you never stop, you also run the risk of not being able to adapt to new environments and new situations. This is where analysis and contemplation comes in. I'm not in the same place today in my career that I was 1 year ago, or even a month ago. Things constantly change, new problems arise that needs new solutions. That is why it can be good from time to time, let's say every 3 to 4 months, to briefly stop, have a look and ask yourself the question, where am I currently at? Because things are never stagnant and they're always changing. Think of it like every 3 to 4 months you reach a crossroads, and you have to decide, based on your current situation, which of the roads best align with where you need to go. By doing this every 3 to 4 months, we make sure that we give ourselves a good amount of time to be able to implement the new training methods or lifestyle changes that we need to implement to make a change. It's not too short that we won't be able to implement it, and it's not too long so that we run the risk of doing things that won't work for us anymore. And now you want to know, how exactly do I do this? And luckily enough, I have a step-by-step video where I show you how to make a proper assessment of yourself as a footballer, where everything in your career, but also within your general life, is taken into consideration. I'll leave a link to that video in the description so that you can watch it after you have watched this video. Number 6, a highlight video. This is something that I can personally attest to and something that I've always been incredibly keen on having by your side, and that is a highlight video. For me, this was the thing that was standing between me and my first pro contract that I signed back in 2022. And without that highlight video, it's very likely that it would never have happened. But why is a highlight video so powerful? Well, because in the matter of only a few minutes, it shows whoever's watching it, a coach, a scout, or another player, what your strengths and qualities are as a player. And based on those few minutes of video footage, you're then able to land that trial that you want, which then also means that you have a chance of signing that contract. Also, by uploading it online and sharing it with friends and family, teammates, coaches and clubs on social media, that video will be working for you and attract attention and interest to you as a player while you are busy putting in the work to improve even further. Number 7, find your why. The last point I want to leave you with is that when you're struggling in your career, always try to find your why. Why am I doing this? My why is not the same as when I was 10, 15, 20, or even now at 24 years old. I believe my why has been different during all these different parts of my career. And when you are pursuing a pro contract, things will be hard, we all know that. And there will come points when you want to quit. But the thing is, you don't know when that opportunity that you have worked so hard for is just around the corner. And if you quit before that, you would never find out and you would never reach that thing that you have worked so hard for. That is why when you're struggling with motivation during testing times, try to identify and find your why. Because the thing is, why you're playing football and why you're pursuing a pro contract, that why may be different to what it once was. And that doesn't mean that you want to quit, just that your why has changed. I hope these 7 things will help you on your way to realizing your football dreams. Maybe you will not be able to apply all of them, but start with one, get the ball rolling, and you will do better than if you didn't take any action at all. Also, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, comment DREAM down below so that we can see how many of you will actually start to take action to reach your footballing dreams. That's all for this time, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.